She didn't sit down, didn't ask how I was, didn't even look around the house I built with my own hands. She just placed the papers in front of me like it was already done and said, "Sign it, Dad." Just like that. No discussion, no respect. Like I was a problem she needed to clear out. I looked at her, my own daughter. And for a second, I didn't recognize the person standing in my living room. Her name is Karen, born in this house, raised in it. I remember painting her bedroom pale yellow when she was 6. She cried because the color wasn't sunny enough. I stayed up half the night fixing it. And now she stood there in my living room in Columbus, Ohio, arms folded, waiting for me to sign my life away like it was a receipt. "I'm not signing anything," I said. She didn't flinch, didn't even blink. Just slid the papers a little closer across the table. "Dad, we've already talked about this. You can't stay here alone anymore." "We haven't talked," I said. "You told me." Her jaw tightened. "You fell in the driveway last month." "I tripped," I said. "I got back up." "You were on the ground for 2 hours." "That part," she said quieter, like it meant something final. I looked at the papers. Legal language, transfer of property, sale authorization. My name printed neatly at the bottom like it was already decided. "Where did you even get this?" I asked. "I handled it," she said. "A realtor, a lawyer. It's all taken care of." Handled it, like I was already gone. I leaned back in my chair, the same chair my wife used to sit in every morning with her coffee. She's been gone 9 years now. Cancer took her slow. Karen barely came around then either. Always busy, always something came up. "And this nursing home?" I said. "You picked that too?" "It's a good place," she said quickly. Too quickly. "Clean, safe, they'll take care of you. I can take care of myself." She let out a sharp breath. "No, Dad, you can't." And I don't have time to argue about it anymore. That hit harder than anything else. Not the house, not the papers. I don't have time. I studied her face, looking for something familiar. Something of the little girl who used to run into my arms after school. But all I saw was impatience, and something else I couldn't quite place. Fear, maybe. Or urgency. "Why the rush?" I asked. She hesitated, just for a second. Then she said, "Because it's already in motion." I felt something cold settle in my chest. "In motion how?" She looked away, and that's when I noticed something I hadn't before. A second folder sticking out of her bag, thicker, stamped with something official. Something that definitely didn't look like a simple house sale. I pointed at it. "What's that?" She zipped the bag shut too fast. "Nothing you need to worry about," she said. That's when I knew this wasn't just about the house, and whatever she wasn't telling me was already too far gone to stop. She kept her hand on that bag like it meant more than anything else in the room. Not the house, not me, that bag. I've lived long enough to recognize when someone's hiding something. You don't get to 73 without learning that look. The tight shoulders, the eyes that won't quite meet yours. The way she kept shifting her weight like she wanted to leave but couldn't yet. "Karen," I said, slower this time. "Open the bag." "No." Just like that, flat, final. I felt something inside me stiffen. "You walk into my house, tell me you're selling it, shipping me off somewhere, and now you won't even tell me what's in that folder?" "It's paperwork," she snapped. "It doesn't concern you. It concerns me if it's got my name on it." That landed. I saw it in her face. Just for a second. A crack. "It's just backup documents," she said, softer now. "In case you don't cooperate." That word, cooperate. Like I was refusing treatment, like I was the problem. I stood up slowly. My knees aren't what they used to be, but I made sure she saw me standing straight. "I'm not a dog you can drag to the vet," I said. "You don't get to handle me." Her eyes flashed. "You think this is easy for me?" "No," I said. "I think it's convenient for you." That hit. She stepped back like I'd pushed her. "You don't understand what I'm dealing with," she said. voice rising now. I've got 2 kids, a job, a husband who's barely holding things together, and now this. Now this? I repeated. I'm this? She pressed her lips together, and for a moment I thought she might apologize. She didn't. Instead, she reached into her bag and pulled the folder out anyway. You want to see it? She said. Fine, look. She dropped it on the table. I didn't touch it right away. Something in my gut told me once I opened it. Things weren't going back to the way they were before she walked in, but I opened it anyway. First page, my name. Second page, medical evaluation request. Third page. I stopped breathing for a second. Petition for guardianship. Filed, not planned. Filed, already signed. Not by me, but by her. My own daughter was trying to have me declared incapable, legally, so she could take control of everything. The house, the money, my decisions, my life. I looked up at her slowly. You're trying to put me away, I said. Her face didn't soften. Not even then. I'm trying to protect you, she said. No, I said quietly. You're trying to own me. Silence filled the room, thick and heavy. Then I saw something else in the folder, tucked behind the legal pages. A notice, red letters across the top. Final warning. Not addressed to me, addressed to her. I picked it up. She moved fast then, trying to grab it back, but I held it just out of reach. What is this? I asked. Give it back. What did you do, Karen? Her voice cracked this time. Just a little. You don't need to know, but I already did. Or at least, I knew enough. This wasn't about my safety. This was about something she'd gotten herself into. Something bad enough that selling my house wasn't a choice. It was a deadline. And judging by the date on that notice, we didn't have much time left. She stared at me like she was deciding whether to fight me or give up. I'd seen that look before. Not in her, but in her mother. Back when the doctors told us the treatments weren't working anymore. That same mix of anger and fear, like the ground was already giving out. Karen, I said, holding that notice in my hand. What did you do? She shook her head, but there was no strength in it now. It's nothing you can fix. That's not what I asked. Her shoulders dropped. Just a little, but enough. It's just debt, she said. Temporary. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was such a small word for something that had already crawled into my house and started rearranging my life. Temporary doesn't come stamped in red with final warning, I said. She didn't answer. I stepped closer, the paper still in my hand. How much? Silence. How much, Karen? Her eyes finally met mine, and I saw it clear as day now. Shame. 180, she said. I blinked. 180. What? 1,000. The room felt smaller all of a sudden, like the walls had leaned in just to hear it better. How? I asked. Not loud, not angry, just stunned. She started pacing then, running her hands through her hair like she was trying to pull the truth out by force. Medical bills, then credit cards, then refinancing, and then Mark lost his job for 6 months and everything just, she snapped her fingers, spiraled. Mark's working now. Yes, but it's not enough, she said quickly. It's never enough anymore. The interest, the penalties, they keep stacking. And your solution, I said slowly, was to sell my house. It's not just a house, she shot back. It's equity. It's sitting here while I'm drowning. There it was. Not we, not the family. I'm drowning. I sat back down in my chair, feeling something heavy settle into my chest. So you file papers to take control of me, sell everything, and what? Use it to pay your debts? It would solve everything, she said, almost pleading now. You'd be safe, we'd be stable. It makes sense. To you. To anyone being realistic. I shook my head slowly. No, Karen. Realistic would have been coming to me before it got this bad. I tried to handle it myself, she said. I didn't want to burden you. You didn't want me to say no. That one landed. She stopped pacing. You always think the worst of me, she said quietly. No, I said. I just finally see clearly. The silence stretched between us again, thicker this time. Then I asked the question that had been sitting in the back of my mind since I saw that folder. When were you going to tell me? She didn't answer right away, and that told me everything. You weren't, I said. Her lips parted, but nothing came out. I nodded slowly. You were just going to have a judge decide I'm not capable, take everything, and move me out like furniture. That's not fair, she whispered. Fair? I leaned forward. You walked in here and told me to sign my life away without even sitting down. Her eyes filled, but she didn't cry. Karen never cried easily. Even as a kid, she'd hold it in until she was alone. I'm out of time, Dad, she said. You don't understand how bad this is. I looked down at that notice again. Final warning. And then I saw something I'd missed before. A second page clipped behind it. Different letterhead. Not a bank, not a hospital, something else. I pulled it free before she could stop me. Her voice came sharp this time. Don't. But I already had it in my hands. I read the first line, and my stomach dropped. This wasn't just debt. This was something a whole lot worse. And whatever she'd gotten into, it wasn't just coming for her anymore. I read it twice, because the first time didn't make sense. Then it did, and I wished it hadn't. It wasn't a bank. It wasn't a hospital. It was a legal notice, but not the kind you ignore and hope goes away. This one had language that felt sharp, cold, like it had teeth. Notice of lien, not just on her, on associated assets and guarantors. I looked up slowly. Karen, what is this? Her face had gone pale now, not defensive anymore, not angry. Cornered. It's just paperwork, she said again, but her voice didn't believe it this time. Don't, I said. Don't lie to me again. She swallowed hard. They said if I didn't resolve it, she started, then stopped. Who is they? Silence. I stood up again, slower this time. Who are they? She pressed her hands against her temples like she was trying to hold her head together. It was supposed to be simple, she said. A short-term loan, bridge money, just to get through a few months. From who? She finally looked at me, and I saw it clear as day. Fear, not stress, not worry. Fear. A private lender, she said. My stomach turned. You mean sharks, I said. They're legal, she snapped quickly, but it sounded rehearsed, like something she'd been told to repeat. Legal doesn't mean safe. They said it was structured, professional. And now, her eyes dropped. Now they want everything back. I held up the paper. This says they can come after associated assets. That means anything tied to you, anything you can touch. Her silence confirmed it. I felt a slow, heavy anger start to build. Not loud, not explosive, just deep. You used my house, I said. It wasn't a question. She didn't answer. You used my house, I repeated louder now. I didn't have a choice, she burst out. They needed collateral. You put my home up as collateral without telling me. I thought I could fix it before it got to this point. I stared at her. Really stared this time. This house isn't just wooden walls, I said quietly. Your mother died in that bedroom. Her face flinched. You learned to walk on that floor, I went on. Every nail in this place, I put in myself. I know that. Then how could you sign it away like it was nothing? I didn't sign it away, she shouted. I just leveraged it. I let out a slow breath. That's a fancy word for the same thing. She started pacing again, faster now. You don't understand how fast it got out of control. The payments doubled, then tripled. Every time I tried to catch up, they added more. Fees, penalties. They said if I missed again. She stopped. I waited. What? I asked. Her voice dropped to almost nothing. They said they'd come in person. The room went quiet. Not the normal kind of quiet. the kind that presses against your ears. When? I asked. She hesitated. Then she said it. Tomorrow. That cold feeling in my chest spread fast. Tomorrow. Not weeks, not months. Tomorrow. And that's why you're here, I said. Not because you're worried about me, but because you're running out of time. That's not fair, she said again, but there was no fight left in it. I looked down at the papers on the table, the sale, the guardianship. All of it lined up like pieces in a plan that didn't include me as a person, just an obstacle. Then I looked back at her. You didn't come to save me, I said. She didn't answer. You came to save yourself. Tears finally broke loose in her eyes. But I didn't move, because something else had just settled into place in my mind, something worse than all of it. If they come tomorrow, I said slowly, and the house isn't signed over. She looked up at me, terrified now. They take it anyway, she whispered. I nodded. And then I asked the one question she didn't want to answer. Karen, what kind of people show up in person for money like this? She opened her mouth, but before she could say a word, there was a hard knock on the front door. Not tomorrow, now. That knock, it wasn't hesitant. It wasn't polite. It was the kind of knock that assumed the door would open. Karen froze where she stood. Her face went completely white, like all the blood just drained out at once. They said tomorrow, I said. I know, she whispered. The knock came again. Louder this time, slower, deliberate. Whoever was out there wasn't guessing. They knew we were inside. I walked past her before she could stop me. My legs felt steady, even if everything else didn't. Funny how that works. You spend years thinking you're getting weaker, and then something like this happens and you remember what steady actually feels like. Dad, don't! She started, but I was already at the door. I didn't open it right away. I stood there for a second, hand on the handle, listening. No voices, just presence. I opened it. 2 men stood on the porch, not loud, not flashy. Clean clothes, calm faces, the kind of men you wouldn't notice twice, until you had a reason to. The one in front gave a small nod. Mr. Walker. He knew my name. Yes, I said. We're here about the property. Not your daughter, not a situation. The property. I glanced back at Karen. She couldn't even look at them. I think you're early, I said. The man gave a faint smile. We like to stay ahead of schedule. Of course you do. He stepped forward just slightly. Not enough to push in, just enough to make it clear he could. We've been in contact with your daughter, he continued. She entered into an agreement. I've seen the papers, I said. Good, he replied. Then you understand the urgency. I let the silence sit there for a moment. You're not getting this house today, I said. His expression didn't change, not even a flicker. That would be unfortunate, he said calmly, because the agreement allows us to proceed with recovery. Recovery, I repeated. That's what you call it. That's what it is. Behind me, Karen finally spoke, her voice shaking. Please, just give us a little more time. The second man spoke for the first time. Lower voice. You already had time. I looked at them both. Really looked this time. No anger, no raised voices. That was the worst part. This was routine for them. How much? I asked. Karen turned sharply. Dad? How much? I repeated. The first man answered without hesitation. 212,000 with penalties. My stomach tightened. It had already grown. And if it's not paid? I asked. He met my eyes directly. Then the asset transfers, immediately. Asset. Not home, not life. Asset. I nodded slowly, like I was considering it. Then I did something Karen didn't expect. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. She gasped inside, but I didn't turn back. The porch felt colder than it should have. Let's talk, I said quietly. The 2 men exchanged a quick glance. then focused back on me. "I built this house," I said. 43 years ago. Paid every cent. No debt. No shortcuts." "That's admirable," the man said, "but not relevant." "It is to me." He tilted his head slightly. "Go on." I took a breath. "My daughter made a mistake," I said. "A bad one. But this house, this isn't part of that mistake." He studied me for a long second. Then he said something that made everything click into place. It became part of it the moment she signed. Not agreed, signed. I felt it then, clear as day. She hadn't just used the house. She had signed something she had no right to sign. I looked him straight in the eye. "She doesn't own this property," I said. Another pause. Then the man reached into his coat and pulled out a document. He handed it to me. "According to this," he said, "she does." I took it, and the moment I saw my own name on the page, next to a signature that looked like mine, but wasn't, everything inside me went cold. Karen hadn't just put my house at risk. She had forged me. I stood there on that porch, holding that paper, staring at a version of my own name that I had never written. Same spelling, same shape, but not mine. I've signed my name thousands of times in my life. On paychecks, on school forms, on hospital papers when my wife got sick. You know your own hand. You know the pressure, the rhythm. This was wrong. Close enough to fool someone who didn't care. Close enough to pass through a system that wasn't looking too hard. But not me. I looked up slowly at the man in front of me. "This is fake." He didn't argue, didn't defend it, didn't even look surprised. "That's not our concern," he said. Of course it wasn't. I felt something shift in me then. Something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not fear. Not confusion. Clarity. I folded the paper carefully, like it mattered, like it was real, and handed it back to him. "This deal doesn't stand," I said. "It already does," he replied. "No," I said quietly. "It doesn't." Behind me, I could hear Karen moving inside, pacing, maybe crying. I didn't turn around. Not yet. "You can bring whoever you want," I continued. "Lawyers, police, a whole damn parade. But you're not taking this house based on a lie." The second man stepped forward slightly. Not aggressive, just closer. "You're making this harder than it needs to be." I nodded. "That's because it is hard." A long pause stretched between us. Then the first man said, "We'll be back." Not a threat, a promise. I believed him. They turned and walked off the porch like they had all the time in the world. Maybe they did. I stood there a few seconds longer, just listening to the quiet they left behind. Then I opened the door. Karen was in the middle of the living room, hands shaking, eyes red, like the weight of everything had finally caught up to her. "They're not going to stop," she said. "No," I answered. "They're not." She looked at me like a child again for the first time since she walked in. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," she whispered. I closed the door behind me. Slow, steady. "But it did," I said. She nodded, barely. Then I asked the question that had been sitting underneath everything else. "Why didn't you come to me before you forged my name?" She broke then, fully, shoulders shaking, voice gone. "I was afraid you'd say no." I watched her, my daughter, the same girl I once carried on my shoulders through this very house, now standing in it like a stranger who'd burned it from the inside. And the truth settled in, heavy and final. She hadn't trusted me, not as a father, not as a man, just as something to use, until she ran out of options. I walked past her, back to the table, to those papers she wanted me to sign. The house, the sale, the end of everything I built. I picked up the pen. She looked up, eyes wide. "Dad," I didn't answer. I just stood there, pen in my hand, staring at the line where my name was supposed to go. And for the first time since she walked in, I hesitated. If this story meant something to you, subscribe. There's more to come.